Wanted to talk about today was how did gaming save my life? And if you guys don't know, I've written. I used to play video games for a living. I would bartend, personal train, play video games, and basically my schedule was I would bartend from 3 o'clock till 10, and then I would stream from 11 to 4, and then I would or 3, and then I would edit until I had to be to the gym, and I would work at the gym from 5 till 10, and that was basically what I did most days of the week, right? And that was what I used to do. That's where this channel came from. That's why I have over 1,000 followers on this, and I hardly ever have more than like 3 or 4 people watching my stream right now because I just restarted. Is because of that, right? So I used to play World of Warcraft. That was my game. I played a shitload of World of Warcraft. Thousands and thousands of hours of World of Warcraft, right? And I used to be a raider. I would make guides. You can go back and look through the channel. It's some of my most watched videos. There's still that content, definitely. But what I wanted to explain was I wrote a book. I stopped playing video games when I started to help my buddy run gyms, and then I moved down to Florida, started my own gyms, and now that's what I do. Is I own multiple gyms. I own a supplement company. I own a franchise company. We're working on several other ventures as well right now. I have a wine company as well. But I started a child trafficking charity that we ran, a 501c3 that we ran for 3 years, helped over 200 kids or sex trafficking victims, and you know that's what I've poured my life into. So, needless to say, I wrote a book called Dark Side Dichotomy. I have 2 books on Amazon, Burned and Dark Side Dichotomy. Burned was a Amazon bestseller. It was #1 in 2 categories on launch, and #2 in the total business category on launch for 2 days, 3 days in a row. The only book that was higher than me was Ed Milet's book, who's a dear friend of mine and a mentor. But the biggest thing, guys, is when I was playing video games, I was, in college. I got kind of hooked in it. One of the bartenders was playing World of Warcraft, got me into it. We started raiding during Ulduar, end of Ulduar, beginning of the trial, and then into the Lich King ICC and all that. And I played a Death Knight, and that was how I got started. And so, yada yada yada. I was, very important in our raids. I would move up in guilds. Me and a couple of my buddies would constantly apply to better guilds, and we would show our parses, and we were very good. Whenever a new raid came out, before people were cheesing, logs and stuff like that, we would always rank. We were very good players, and so I think at the height, I was in a top, back when they had 25-man and 10-man. I was in a top 25 U.S. 25-man guild. We were one of the first 25 guilds to kill Garrosh in the U.S. And so basically that was what I did. And so when I had moved home from college, I had a drug problem, a drinking problem. I was hanging out with the wrong people. Moved back home. I was the typical guy in your mom's basement, but I worked a lot, right? Like I always had a job. I always worked my butt off. I just, that was what I did. And so what happened was I ended up having a friend of mine who was in college. She was on her way to my house, and we were texting, and she never showed up. And it was for my birthday, and my birthday weekend, she was going to come take me out. And she was a nurse, and she got off work, and she was going to come take me out for my birthday. Never showed up. And I wrote her some really mean messages because I thought she had ditched me. I thought she lied to me. And turns out she hit a tree and she died. And it was really hard on me. And I drove up to where we went to college, where I met her, got a ton of drugs, got as drunk as I could get, and drove home. And on the way home, it was snowing. I was in a work car. I was selling cars at the time. And so I was in a company car. And there was trees lining both sides of the road. It was iced out, and there was a horse trailer in front of me on the road. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna slam on the gas, go as hard as I can to slam into the horse trailer at 100+ miles an hour, and that should kill me. But if it doesn't, the trees on the road are so huge on the sides of the road, and it's so close to the road, that there's no way that the crash doesn't kill me that way. So I slammed on the gas, went into the back of the horse trailer, totaled the car, ended up wedged between two trees. The next thing I remember is the cops. An officer pulled me out, asked if I was okay, and then got me out of the car, told me to go sit in the front seat of his car, not the back, which is a key component. Went and checked on the horse trailer. The horse trailer had a little bit of damage, but nothing crazy. Nothing was hurt. There was no horses in the trailer at the time. And they didn't, they just wanted to be done with it. They made sure I was okay and they left. And so then he got back in the car and brought me back to the station. I had told him what had happened, and he said, well, it sounds like you've been through enough tonight. He goes, when we get back to the station, I want you to just hang out outside because you smell really bad, and I'm not going to be able to hide that from the other officers. So this man could have thrown me in prison, could have thrown me in jail. I could have had a completely different life, and he showed grace and mercy. And so I will always, that's why I've always tried to be very good to law enforcement and help them out, because regardless of what you see on the news, most cops are incredibly good people. And that guy literally could have put my life in a completely different path. So we called my mom. She came and picked me up with her now husband, and they drove me home. And that was the first time I had tried to kill myself, and I wasn't able to accomplish that, right? And so obviously when you do that, right, I got sober after that, but just because you get sober doesn't mean that you're mentally okay, right? And so I was obviously still struggling a lot with it, and I was trying to figure out how to do it again and how to actually complete the mission this time. And so I was like, okay, well, the gun's going to be the easiest, quickest, safest way. And so what I did was I had called a couple of stores that had guns to make sure I could do a background check, to do all that. And was literally going to go that night to go get it. And my buddy called me and said, hey man, I know you haven't played in a couple weeks. I know you're going through some shit, but like, we need you in raid tonight. And showed up in raid. I ended up raid leading part of the raid because the main raid leader was out. We ended up making a ton of progression, killing a bunch of bosses, and I ended up never going and getting the gun. And it was because of that need, right? So it was because of that thing, that feeling that, oh, like, there is still some reason, right? Like, there is still some good. And that was truly what did it. And so, that side of the story is very rarely told. And I know a lot of people look at, these things and gaming in particular as bad, right? But to me, that is one of the things that really helped me out. And so, I wanted to make this today because, I know that these kind of times right now for a lot of people are pretty tough. And just know that if they are for you, you're not alone. It's been like that before, and it'll be this way again. But there's always a way. That life has a strange way of showing you value, and now I look at all the things that I've been able to do because that decision was made, and it was definitely for a purpose. So there is a grander scheme, right? There is a reason, and don't ever forget that.